Chris, good morning. Hey.
Oh, sorry. Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, I was just really engrossed in this book. It seems to be written in French, though, for some reason.
It's Lebanese. I can see how you could make that mistake, though.
It is. I can understand a couple of the words written in there. Anthony, good morning.
I use college words. You're a college professor. You should have.
Book launch.
I'm excited about
half of it. It is a terrific book. I'm
Is it really?
Genuinely learning a lot about it.
I haven't read it yet, so I'm excited to hear how other people.
That's good. It's good that you're excited about reading your book. That's
yes,
going to be great.
I put my name on it. I probably should read it.
Probably should. Yeah, at some point, just to make sure that you know what you supposedly wrote. Right.
I am a How to Founder best-selling author now.
That's only until Stephanie decides she wants to write a book.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
exactly right.
She's gonna take all of us.
Anthony,
really good. I really used to hate facial hair, but it grew on me.
Oh. All right, I guess that's a cue for my joke. Excuse me. What do you call a factory that makes mediocre products?
I don't know, Anthony. What do you call a factory that makes mediocre products?
A satisfactory. It's really
God,
dumb.
I hate that. I thought that's so funny. Anthony, what's the one?
Let's get us out of this.
What's the one employee habit you're still carrying that cost you the most? Kahei Hai spent a decade at BlackRock before launching Rad Reads, the promotion instinct that made him a top performer for nearly a decade. Torpedoed his first year as a founder. Today on How to Founder, Anthony, we're talking about unlearning your employee thinking. I'm your host, Mr. Chris Franks. With me today is the best-selling author, Mr. Anthony Franco. Thankfully, we have a real author on the show today, like an actual best-selling author, not just one that pretends to be like us. Mr. Randy Gage is a founder, entrepreneur, a New York Times best-selling author, and a member of the Speakers Hall of Fame. That's like golf clap for sure. Speakers Hall of Fame. Spent a decade teaching founders to deprogram limiting beliefs and think like builders. Randy, thank you. Thank you for joining us. If I had to put you on the spot, who had the better dad joke this morning? Was it Anthony or I?
I will take the fifth.
So smart.
The answer is
so
they're
smart.
both so terrible.
We both have very fragile egos, so I appreciate you being.
Yeah, I actually appreciate that. All right, let's get right into it, Randy. It's a fascinating topic. In your opinion, what's the single most dangerous thing that we as founders bring with us that we learned in corporate America, that we learned from operating at a big company? Single most dangerous thing we bring with us as we start our first company?
It might be the thing that jumps in my mind. It might be the belief that people are telling us the truth. We come from a corporate environment sometimes where people work for you and they get paid to tell you your ideas are brilliant. Unfortunately, that shouldn't be the culture, but it is the culture in a lot of companies, right? Like, I can tell you, I have an entrepreneurial coaching program at the high level. Most of the people who join because I'm the only person who will tell them when their stupid idea is stupid.
That's exactly why Anthony and I hang out. It's just stupid.
Right. It's just natural. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, it turns into surrounding themselves with sycophants and yes men and yes women. And when you go on your own, you got to remember, okay, no, I'm in the real world now. If I don't make this work, I don't eat. The corporate world, you mess up, you still get a paycheck most of the time for a long time. In our world, it's a different thing. You can lose it all because you lose touch with reality. So I think the big change we want to make when we go from employee to entrepreneur is we want to surround ourselves with people who will tell us when our stupid idea is stupid, coming from highest good, coming from love, coming from, hey, I'm not here to tear you down. I'm not here to water down your dream, but I'm here to say, if we take this course of action, it could result in this, which could lose us the whole company, and then everybody's out of a job.
It reminds me of some research by Paula Caprani, PhD out of University of Michigan, who talks about finding a loving critic. Somebody who's loving and actually cares about you, but is willing to actually be a critic of you and your business. And Anthony, I think in my experience, probably both of our experience, people, when you get into this startup world, they don't want to tell you your baby's ugly. We've talked about it before, almost this allergic reaction to compliments. Like people going, hey, your idea is really good. You're like, no,
I'm trying to sort through the tension of something that Randy said. So we need to be more rooted in reality, in what's real and what's true when it comes to certain things, but also completely devoid and delusional of reality in order to get started in the first place. The odds are stacked against us, right? Like entrepreneurs, 99% of us fail.
100% what you say about the tension in that, Anthony.
Yeah.
Because for Elon Musk to say, we're going to go to Mars, I'm going to have cargo delivered on Mars by 2018. Now we're 2026, and his latest tweet is moon first. Okay, now knowing what I know and some of the people I know, I do know there were people in his inner circle who said, Elon, we can't just hop to Mars. We should go to the moon first, build a base. I think he's kind of established a pattern of when people tell him things he doesn't want to hear, he sometimes just looks them in the eye and says, you're fired. Where he might do better if he said, wow, that's very contrarian to what I was thinking. Can you talk about that more? Because it is a tension. The reason why Elon is the most brilliant visionary entrepreneur of our time is because he is crazy, delusional. Hey, we'll go to Mars. Hey, we'll catch a rocket with a couple of chopsticks and reuse it. And it's also the reason that he misses every deadline by 25 times and, maybe alienates a lot of people and creates a lot of excess friction for himself that he doesn't need, because he doesn't want people to water down his dream and tell him, well, the reality is maybe we should build a base on the moon first and use that as a staging area because of the gravity and the other processes. So I think you're dead right about that's a tension. And Chris, when you say the guy who said the loving critic, that's the key thing, right? Because we all can find 100 people who would tell us we're stupid. All we got to do is post something on X, and instantly 100 people will tell you what an idiot you are. You don't need more of that. You need people who actually have your highest good in mind. And when they tell you your baby is ugly, then okay, baby's ugly.
I want to frame out the conversation a little bit more, because I think for us to have, kind of get a couple layers down, we need to start by defining what we mean by employee thinking. And I have something in my mind, but I'm interested for both of you. So start with Randy and then Anthony. When I say employee thinking, what triggers for you?
Personal security, job security, protecting my paycheck, keeping my head below the cubicle, The tall in Australia, they call it the tall poppy syndrome, meaning the tallest flower is the first one that gets cut. A lot of employee thinking is that stay low, keep your head below the cubicle, make it to Friday, and then you can go home and get your 12-pack and binge watch Netflix, right? Whereas an employee is saying, why has nobody ever done this before? And an entrepreneur would say, why has nobody ever done this before? Why isn't this possible? What is this bold, imaginative solution that I can create for this very real problem that people have? We create value by envisioning better possibilities, solving problems, adding value. The more an employee can train themselves to think like an entrepreneur, how do I solve problems? How do I add value? The more valuable they become to the corporation, and ultimately, the more job security they have. But unfortunately, in a lot of cases, it's the opposite. They think if I stay below the cubicle and I don't speak up at meetings and I don't post anything in the Slack channel, I can coast my way to retirement.
Anthony, same question. What is employee thinking?
Employees, I put it this way: employees follow instructions, entrepreneurs build. I think that's the fundamental difference. And I think that if you're a good entrepreneur, you're probably a terrible employee, not because you don't care about the company, but because you're not a culture fit with everybody else that's there just to go along to get along.
I wanted to follow up on that because it's funny when Randy said something. I was like, I wonder, other than a very senior executive position, I wonder if people that have been founders actually would be good entrepreneurs, are good employees. I'm not sure, but I'm going to put a wrapper on this and I'll follow up with a question, Randy, which is, I think that what we're saying here is that employees are people that oftentimes are about protecting a paycheck and protecting where they are. And they're ambitious and they want to move forward, but almost by definition, you have a scarcity mindset in that moment. Because what you're doing is you're saying, I don't want to lose this thing. I've got it. That represents stability. And not everybody should be an entrepreneur, right? Like not everybody should be a founder. There's plenty of people that works incredibly well for. But it is a particular mindset where you say, no, I just don't want to be fired because then I have to go find another job and all this other stuff. And that's almost the exact opposite of what a founder does. It's like we're constantly living kind of in this amorphous world of making money, not making money. It's just, and the idea of that steadiness it's almost kind of allergic to it. Is that a fair way to sum it up, Randy?
Yeah, because the entrepreneur, you're saying, I got $400,000. I could buy a state-of-the-art Lambo. I could buy a little beach cottage, or I could found my company and risk it all. And they risk it all. They'll delay the Lambo. They'll delay the beach house. They'll whatever. They will put their whole dream into it. Where an employee is saying, that would not be a wise decision right now. Play it safe, play it conservative. You need this paycheck. For me, I'm with Anthony on this. I always say I'm psychologically unemployable. If you hire me, one of us is going to be dead within 60 days.
Yeah, I would say I burned the building down. Like I would be thrown out of my ass or burn the place down. It would just not go very well.
Yeah. Now, we're the perfect employee in the sense of we know how important culture is. We know how important teamwork is. So we try to do that. But when we have a boss who just wants to do something stupid, we're never going to let them get away with that. And a lot of cultures that it's going to get you fired, or, like I say, you're going to end up killing them, or they're going to end up killing you, but it isn't going to be pretty in the end. But
I think that's absolutely right. I think entrepreneurs can be really great employees for really great leaders.
Yeah.
It's just those two don't meet that often.
They don't.
It's funny. I want to just take a small tangent here, and then we'll get back to the overall thought around what employee thinking is and how you bring that with you. But Anthony, I know a few of our friends have made just a ton of money. None of them drive Lamborghinis. Like we've said this before, but the reward for the job is the job. We just want to keep doing the job. And yeah, I mean, some people have made money where their great grandkids are going to get rich and they'll buy a nice, buy a place in the mountains or something like that they don't use because they want to be in their basement coding. It's like, it's a weird thing where status and prestige, normal societal status and prestige, doesn't really play into the world that we live in, because the people that do this job, we're impressed by the people that keep doing this job. And if they get an opportunity to do the job, we're like, man, good job. That's well done.
Yeah, I always hate to put, say all entrepreneurs and because there are some entrepreneurs that are entirely motivated by money and very successful. They care about the yachts and the Lambos but I would agree with you. Let me put it this way. The entrepreneurs I like hanging out with are the builders. The ones that don't talk about money, they're multimillionaires and show up at a meetup in a t-shirt and jeans. Those are the folks that I have stuff in common with. I personally don't understand. Like, money is the measure of if you built something good. It's not the goal, it's the measure.
Randy, what do you think? Are we onto something, or are we full of it just because we don't drive Lamborghinis?
Oh no, we're definitely onto something. Here's a resource for anybody watching or listening now. Right on my homepage, randygage.com, there's a free PDF, The 7 Elements of an Abundant Life. My podcast, my blogs, my books, my Entrepreneur Accelerator program, everything I do is based on that philosophy. And money and material things are one part of a prosperous life. I actually have a framework breaking it down into 4 quadrants, and money and material things is one part of one quadrant. The mistake people make is, and they're both the same consequence mistake. Mistake number 1 is they say money is the answer. As soon as I'm rich, all my problems are going to go away. No, that's not going to happen. Money solves your money problems. Money will not solve your addiction problems. It won't solve your egoistic problems. It won't solve your relationship problems. But the opposite of that is also the case. People say, well, money doesn't matter. It's just money, or it's just things. That's just as dangerous approach, because if you're worried about paying the light bill, you're not going to be doing your highest good to the world. If you can't afford a home where your kids can play in the yard without worrying about a drive-by shooting or getting kidnapped, you're not going to live a prosperous life. If you can't get the medical care you need, or the dental care you need, or the peace of mind of security, you're no good to anybody, right? Because there's a reason why you hear psychologists say, make sure you're getting your own needs met. Only then can you help other people. It's the same whether, entrepreneurs, we forget sometimes entrepreneurs are humans too. And we have human needs that need to be met if we want to really make a difference and dent the universe, as Steve Jobs liked to say.
I like the idea. This is the classic put your mask on before helping somebody else put their mask on. I want to, so we've talked about this employee mindset, and employee mindset. The first component we discussed was this idea of risk and how we take risk. And I do think it's probably the foundational thing that makes founders different than employees. But I want to get a step beyond that, which is you've taken this step. You've got beyond that risk factor, but you've worked in a big company your entire life. Now you're starting a company. You have 2 people. You've worked in a company with 2,000 people. What are some of those triggers, those dangerous components of either management or leadership or culture that you may inadvertently bring with you to your startup, Randy?
You will build overhead too fast. Overhead is so easy to add. It's so hard to cut back on. So you say, okay, well, of course we have to have a CTO, and we've got to have an HR director, and we've got to have a CFO, and we've got to have this, and they each need an office, and they each need a laptop, and they each need an expense account, an insurance plan, payroll deductions, Roth IRA. All of a sudden, you've got thousands of little baby birds chirping, chirping, chirping. Mommy, 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 I need the worm. And you have to be the one putting the worm in the mouth of all those beaks. And then you realize, man, I'm screwed. I got to a point early on in my speaking career where I realized I have all these hungry birds. I need $125,000 a month to break even in sales. And I thought, if I just kept my personal assistant and paid her $80,000 a month, which would have been like a CEO salary in those days, because I'm talking back 30 years ago, almost, right? I was still the rainmaker. I realized I didn't need all those people. And so that was kind of there was a come to Jesus meeting for me where at one point, so I sold one of my divisions and I said, no, I'm going to create a lifestyle business. I want a business I can run from a laptop under a palm tree in Fiji or sitting on the Champs-Élysées in Paris, people watching. And you start to filter it through lifestyle. So, but that's kind of my personal rant. But getting back to the meat of your question is, it's adding overhead too fast, because in that big company, there is a department for everything. There is 15 employees for every function. And you can't get away with that when you're a startup. You got to be lean and clean and a little bit mean.
Anthony, this reminds me of when people hire a CFO and there's 4 people. You're like, do you need a CFO? Do you?
If you're fundraising, maybe, but other than that, probably not.
I have
No,
to say,
same question,
I'll work
Anthony.
with
What do you think that people bring with them that, you know, are dangerous? I like the idea of overbuilding. I think it's classic. And oftentimes you overbuild structure into a small company because that's what you're used to, is structure and organization and systems and process. And you realize that either A, systems and process actually start to dampen creativity, or B, you just spent a bunch of time building system and process that you're going to have to throw out because it doesn't work for your business.
Yeah. So the thing that popped into my head. So Randy talked about, you know, the way you think about the systems as you bring them in. The thing that popped in my head is related to something else that Randy said, which is, and related to what you said about risk. So I don't think of it as risk. I don't think of risk in the same way. It's the ability to. So I think the dangerous thing is not that you bring over, is your identity. You may have a certain status or a certain way of operating so that you don't look like a fool, which is how normal people operate. If you come into a company and you're the founder, you have to be willing to do the things that you weren't normally willing to do because you didn't want to look foolish. You have to be willing to look foolish. And if you don't bring that in, if you're not willing to make really big public mistakes and then put them right, and move on, I think that's the bigger danger.
Randy, I think it's a really interesting point, which is in this corporate hierarchy. And also, I kind of think that maybe this is the reason why there's a bias for younger people starting companies, is that as you get further up a corporate ladder, so to speak, there's more of this idea of structural power or authority and some of the benefits that go with that. Part of that's exactly what you said, is people aren't going to tell you the truth, right? Oh, you look great today, by the way. That's, you know, terrific haircut. But you have to inverse that. You have to reverse that idea that you're actually the one at the bottom if you're starting a company. Does that resonate with you, Randy?
Yeah, like today, I'm writing books about prosperity and how they develop prosperity consciousness. And I'm telling them, life is too short to fly economy. Life is too short to choose your hotel room by the oceanfront versus the dumpster view. Take the oceanfront. Buy the condo in the higher floor with the better view, right? But understand, when I started my business, I was the guy in row 35, middle seat between two 250-pound guys across from the lab. And I put 1 million miles on my account before I could afford to fly first class or private. You do what you got to do to start, because if you don't meet the payroll, you go out of business. That's the law of the jungle. So you've got to be mindful. You've got to be prudent. But what you want to do is to invest in yourself, invest in the growth. When I first started being a speaker, I was doing public seminars. Now, I didn't know you're supposed to lose money for a while, I just knew if I didn't have money to eat, I couldn't eat. So I launched my business. I did $330,000 my first year. I lived on like $7,000. The next year I did 600 and something, and I lived probably on $25,000. And then my third year I broke $1 million. And that's when I started like paying myself an actual salary every week that came in a paycheck, and started having an insurance program for my health care and, that kind of stuff. You grow into it, but you've got to understand, you got to do what you got to do in the lean, hungry years. I had a hairstyling salon I owned, and when you own a salon, you do 60% of your sales on Friday and Saturday. That's when all the ladies do their wash and set. They're going out for the weekend. So my employees knew for a year, it's Friday, I'm giving you your paycheck, but you can't take it to the bank because there's not enough money there. Go to a check cashing store, a liquor store, a grocery store, or wait until Monday, because I need the Friday and Saturday sales to cover the paychecks, right? That's the way it is in the real startup world, right? You live with reality. You don't lose that dream, that vision of how I'm going to scale this thing and I'm going to do something amazing.
It's such
the
an
thing
interesting...
that resonated really quick. The thing that resonated that Randy said, I think it boils down to, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable for a while. And if you're not, don't do it.
I think it really kind of gets to my next question, which is, so we've talked about risk, we've talked about the idea of status and some of these ideas about, are you willing to be uncomfortable? Are you willing to go through these moments of pain? And it's not easy. And Anthony, we joke about this all the time and we try to make light of it, but it can be incredibly challenging, incredibly stressful. Randy, you lived off of $7,000. That's like, it is while you just made $300,000 top line. It's incredible. So I want to give you guys the opportunity, and maybe I'll frame it this way, which is, you have the opportunity to talk to somebody who's an employee and they say, I really want to go start a company. I want to do this. This is a dream. I'm really aspiring. Other than Anthony, I know what you're going to say, which is don't.
You know my answer to that question. Don't do it.
They're very convinced. What specific advice would you give them? So they're going to do it, Anthony. What specific advice can you give them about what to take with you from your previous corporate experience and what to leave behind? Randy, what do you think?
Well, I'd say I do think you can do this in stages. My advice would be, don't just throw down everything and start over. Get a side gig. What is that thing? That free PDF I told everybody to get. One of the first thing it says is, do work that lights you up. And the second thing is, surround yourself with people who honor that work. You don't have time. You can't afford any employee, any partner who isn't lit up by the work the way you are, right? So find that thing that lights you up and start it as a side gig. Keep the job at the bank. Keep the job at the airline. And you're going to say, yeah, but then I have my kids and my wife and my this and that's part of the price you pay. You're going to sacrifice. You're going to take you're going to find 5 hours, whether it's from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. before the kids are up, whether it's 9 p.m. till midnight after they go to bed, whether it's whatever time, and you are going to make some trades, prioritize some things, but do that and build out the model, build out something, or some of people, you need to keep the job. You need to get a side gig, which isn't the thing you love. It's driving for Uber, it's delivering pizzas, it's DoorDash, it's whatever. And you need to be building the other thing in the spare hours, right? Life is a process of, forget life balance, life work balance. There is no such thing. We're all mindful of that. If your elderly parent gets sick, you're going to be totally out of balance for taking care of them. If you're launching a new company, you're going to be totally out of balance for launching your company. And you, as long as you're mindful about it and say, sometimes you got to make a deal with your family. Hey guys, I'm launching this new venture. I'm not going to be able to attend every sporting event, every dance recital, everything, but I need your help on this for 2 seasons, the next 6 months. And then at the end of this, we're all going to go as a family to Universal Studios for 5 days as a reward. You know, get them to buy into your dream, do it as a team, negotiate the parameters. And then you don't have to just because I get it, and I'm one of those entrepreneurs who sold my furniture and slept on the floor to keep my company going. At 30 years old, I did that. Okay. When you're 18, that's romantic. When you're 30 and your friends have minivans and houses and kids, it ain't romantic anymore. It just basically sucks. Right. But I'm willing to do that. Elon obviously was willing to do that. He took everything he made with PayPal and he bet it all on his future stuff. But you don't have to do that. You could do a side gig. You could keep some security and do it incrementally. And that might be the best path for some of the people.
Anthony, same question. You're sitting across somebody, they're committed, they're in. What skills should they bring with them? And what skills and ideas should they leave behind?
I have no notes for what Randy said.
Yeah.
But it was the best answer to that question. No notes, perfectly stated.
And Randy,
move to the next question. That's it. That's
Anthony's given anybody a compliment on this show. So congratulations. Well done. I want to hit on one other thing here, which is just if we're pressing on it. I think that there's an idea as an employee about what working hard and what time and time management looks like versus what time and time management and working hard looks like as a founder. And I don't know that there's anything that can truly prepare you as an employee to what it means to work hard as a founder. And people sometimes kind of get shocked when I was like, yeah, I worked 18 hours a day for 2 weeks to get this thing done. Like I literally did that. And it didn't, I worked for that amount of time. And I'm not trying to make this the hustle porn thing because I know it's incredibly dangerous. But there is this idea of, and Randy, I think you hit on it, which is this idea of work-life balance. Founders don't have work-life balance. They try to incorporate everything into their experience, but there's no balance there.
Well, in terms of resource, I actually could give 2 resources, but it'll surprise people because of the context. They're both books by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. The first is called Who, Not How. And the second one is called 10X is Better Than 2X. And they're both about scaling. But what lit me up about those books when I read them a couple of years ago was it's about how you work in your genius zone and the stuff you have to delegate, this stuff like you entrepreneurs who are listening or watching right now, you're full on, you're in entrepreneur mode. Even though I have never met you in person, I can already tell you, you cannot afford to mow your own lawn. You cannot afford to clean your own house. You cannot afford to wash your own clothes. All right. You have to be doing rain maker activities in your genius zone and paying other people to do the other things. And the same way with the company. So when you are a new founder, you have to realize, wow, I cannot be coding my website. I have to be paying somebody to do that. I need to be talking to my actual customers. How do they like the software? What is the features they think are missing? What are the things they're trying to do with the product that they can't do? How would my product be better? Where should I be doing a speech that would put me in front of other people that would connect me with my dream and help me move forward or find the ideal avatar clients, right? I took this to such an extreme. So you heard earlier, I kind of went from, hey, I don't want all these hungry beaks that I got to feed, right? So I built out a total lifestyle business. I had one paid employee who was Lornette, who worked for me for 27 years. She got in her 70s. She finally retired. I said, okay, I will never have another employee again. I have a video team in Nepal, does my social media. I have a print team in Bangladesh that does my X and stuff like that, long form stuff. And I had a VA. And then after reading those two books, I said, son of a, you know what? I need to hire a full-time executive assistant. So I narrow it down to a 23-year-old college kid who's doing two majors at the same time and starts the campus entrepreneurial club and everything. I pay him a ridiculous salary. It was his first job. I said, what would you want? He gave a number. I said, okay, you start tomorrow. And if you do what I think you're capable of doing, next year, you're going to be earning more than your professors, right? But I told him, your job, when I come back from a speech, I need the car fueled, washed, ready to go. I need food in the refrigerator. Find some Colombian abuelita who can come over to the house once a week and prepare all my meals and stack them up in the refrigerator. Work out the housekeeping stuff with Rocio and handle my calendar and let me work in my genius zone. So today, I'm doing a show like I'm doing with you guys. I got 5 of these today. Why? Because I told him, Samuel, you have 2 days a week to book me. So if it's recording my podcast, it's me guesting on another podcast, being on some other media outlet, going to the chiropractor, going to the dentist, meeting Miss Cleo in the astral plane to get my horoscope read, whatever you can book. You got 2 days a week, 5 days a week. You cannot book me. I don't care which day. You can move them around because maybe if Joe Rogan calls and wants me on a podcast, okay, and he's doing it on a Wednesday, then you book everything on Wednesday, okay? But you only get 2 days a week, and that's it. And then the rest allows me to work in my genius zone and my lifestyle zone, right? So Sundays, I don't work. Saturday nights, I don't work. I have date nights. I have stuff like that. But when I work, I have all this white space in my calendar for critical thinking, writing long form blogs, writing my books, crafting a new keynote speech, and working with my coaching clients and my consulting clients, the rainmaker activity. And as a new entrepreneur, it's really easy to get your whole calendar booked out 12 hours a day. And I'm going to caution you, it's the white space in your calendar where the breakthroughs live.
I think there's a good
100%,
place for us
right.
to wrap up and go to the speed round, Anthony, but I want to give you a brief opportunity to react, which is, by definition, every single job in a big company has a job description. And it says, this is what you do. And you like some of it and you don't like some of it, but you have a job description. And you do this thing. When you go as a founder, you do not have a job description. And what Randy's saying is you have to manage your time and tasks to try to identify high leverage tasks versus low leverage tasks. It's a very difficult thing when you're coming from being an employee. What are some ways, just practical advice you would give somebody to say what Randy's saying? Try to make sure that you're spending your time on the things that can make the biggest difference, and then try to delegate the other things. And then we'll get to the speed round. Randy.
Yeah, I think three things. I think of three things when he said that. He said one, manage your calendar. So manage your calendar doesn't mean it's full. It means it's mostly empty. The second are related. The second two are related. Email and SMS, email and messages. Be comfortable with not being responsive. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say, you and I don't text each other back for 3 or 4 days at a time. That's
Right.
just usually what happens. Yeah.
Protect your time is dead nuts on.
Yeah. All right, Randy, are you ready for the speed round? It was a hypothetical question. So I didn't wait for your response. I'm going to read you a series of questions. Just answer the first thing that pops into your head. Your old boss offers double salary to come back. Do you take it?
What the F are you smoking?
What percentage of your employees' skills are actually worthless now?
It gets more every day. My goal for this year is to hire 20 new employees who are AI agents.
Founders who never had a real job, is that an advantage or a handicap?
It's a handicap. It'd be good if you first worked at McDonald's or Burger King or mop floors and did some of that stuff in the real world before you founded a company.
What's the one employee skill that you refuse to give back?
Refuse to what?
Give back. Give up.
Writing, speaking, people skills. Those are that's what drives any business, nonprofit, relationship, happiness in life. If you're able to articulate your thoughts, writing and speaking, and if you're able to interact with people, those are the most important skills in the world, I think.
This is my favorite question. I'll hand it to you as well, Anthony. How many months of runway before employees thinking starts to creep back into your life?
I think it creeps back in even if you've got 12 years of runway. If you started like I did, where you just been through that and you sold your furniture and whatever, you're always mindful of it. But you don't let it define you and you don't let it defeat you.
I think the more runway you have, the more you start thinking like an employee. The less runway you have, the more hungry you are. The more, I think that anxiety is a great entrepreneurial driver.
Interesting take. Really good conversation. A few deep dive recommendations. I even grabbed one as you're talking. Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. Rework by Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansen. And Who Not How, the formula to achieve bigger goals through accelerated teamwork by Dan Sullivan. I didn't get the other book that you mentioned, but it sounds amazing as well.
Which also, yeah, that's also Sullivan, 10 and Hardy. 10x is better than 2x.
10x is better than 2x. Terrific conversation. Randy taught us a lot. Where can we find out more information about you? We've already flashed it up, but let's do it again.
Yeah, randygage.com. That's kind of my Starfleet command site. My blog is there, podcast, entrepreneurial accelerator program, everything.
Solid nerd reference. I appreciate it, Randy. Good job. Starfleet command. Solid.
All right, I'll wrap us up. Chris, thank you all so much for listening. Please be sure to visit us at howtofounder.com, where you can connect with us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our Apple, YouTube, and Spotify channels. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcast, because we here at How to Founder, Chris, we believe that you are the pioneers of economic prosperity, and we're just really humbled and grateful to be there along the way with you. Randy, thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Bye.